guys, what I'm gonna do is this is a first for me as far as videoing this process. I'm gonna try to do it for the YouTube channel that I've had 5 years, 6 years, and I have not done anything with it for probably 4 years. So just bear with me, this is new. I don't have the most tidy art space. I have not been a tidy artist, so that's just me. I have stuff everywhere. These are some Brusho little canisters that I got the other day. They're so cool. So this process to me is so very liberating and it's exciting. I think about it at night, what colors I want to do the next morning. It's just very exciting for me because I have been doing realism and realistic florals, realistic portraits, animal portraits. I do have pieces where I've gotten a little more loose, and that's just so much fun for me if I can do it. It's hard for me, but this process makes me do that. So if you're someone that's stuck in realism and want to do something a little looser, a little more loose, this would be a good thing to do. I guess I'll show you my situation here. I have these Brushos. I don't know if I'm going to use that today. I never know what I'm going to use until I actually do it, but these are little canisters of just pure pigment. And so I can sprinkle them into water and they just are magic. They magically just explode when they hit water. The original thing that I got was this 10 pack of these Ecoline liquid watercolors. These are good. I start with them. They're just basically really diluted watercolor, but they're very vibrant, so that's what I start with usually. I learned this process from an incredible artist that has been doing this for a few years. Her name is Kendra Brazel, and she has a YouTube channel. She has Instagram. It's Kendra Brazzel, and she has been very helpful as far as sharing her process and letting me know what pigments she uses, what brands she uses. So I have some different things. I have my water. I have these little pipettes that I never thought I would use, but I'm using them all the time now with this process. They're like these little suction water things. The paper is this mineral paper by Yasutomo, and it's pretty inexpensive. You can get a pack. This is 11 by 14, 20 sheet from Blick Art, and this is big for me. Usually I do the 9 by 12s, but I want to say it's like maybe $11 for a pack of 20. I might be off with that, but they're not expensive as compared to, you know, like hot pressed watercolor paper. So all of my paintings that I do have dog hair in them. Some of them have my own hair in them, so it's just pretty organic. I try to leave them if I can, if it doesn't disrupt the painting. So anyway, I have the Ecoline liquid watercolor, I have the Brusho that I sometimes use. I have Dr. P.H. Martin's liquid watercolors. These are thicker. These are more pigment based. I got a pack of 20 maybe of these. Anyway, just they're good to use. I kind of use them in tandem with the Ecoline. Then I have the Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay ink that I use sparingly. This white I like to use every time. It kind of, I don't know, sets off the other colors, and I don't know, I just learned to use it, and I have been using it for almost everything I do. Kendra has been good to help me know that it's not a problem, that most of my paintings are not, you know, museum worthy, and that's okay. A lot of the paintings that I do have other paintings on the back of them, because sometimes when I get going with this process, I physically cannot stop because it's so much fun. I talk about enjoy the process. This process is just so much fun that it's hard for me to stop. So I'm going to use this as a background, not a background, but kind of for my paper. You'll see I have a lot of these, and once the water starts flowing, I try to make it level because my table is not level. So maybe I'll get that fixed at some point. Anyway, then the other thing that I use are these. They're made by Golden, and they are these high flow acrylics. And these are cool because there's something, they're thicker, they they granulate a little more. The fact that all these different things are used in the painting, as far as what I've learned from Kendra, she's done all the kind of footwork beforehand, but because we use the different mediums, they don't blend together and make mud like a lot of times like watercolor would do if you don't know what you're doing. They kind of bounce off of each other and play with each other instead of binding together. So it's really key to mix up your mediums. I don't know if it's medium or mediums, but to just see what they can do with each other. If you don't know my situation, my hand is kind of my situation. Basically, I had an accident 8 years ago, and in 2016, I'm just going to give you the short version, but I have limited mobility in my hand. I have nerve damage in this hand and arm, but I learned about a year ago, almost 2 years ago, that I can actually paint and draw with my hand now. It's just different. So you'll see, you might not, but I can just hold a paintbrush a certain way. I don't have the fine motor skills that you can do this, which is fine because most art is made by your arm motion versus your fine motor skills. Anyway, that's what I've learned for my situation. So I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna just tell you what I do, and I have no idea what colors I'm gonna use. So I'm just gonna go through I just wiped that dog hair off, so it's not gonna be in the painting. All right, the Echo line, I'm gonna start out with this color, this violet color. And usually what I do is I make 2 lines. I just scribble with this liquid watercolor. I make sure that it kind of connects, and I'm using enough of this pigment. So I just make sure they don't touch. It doesn't matter if they do, but I just, oh, there's the dog hair again. Sure that there are 2 parallel horizontal lines just for symmetry purposes. I try to always put my caps on because I'm known for spilling my stuff. Okay, so now I want to use this Bombay white to tone down that purple, and I just drop it right on the line. A little of this goes a long way, is what I've learned. So what I'm going to do now, and I've never done this, so we'll see, is I'm going to use a different color on the bottom. I think I'm going to use maybe this yellow on the bottom of this Bombay ink. Let's just see what happens. Get that out of there. And I'm just dropping it right on the line so it mixes with the other. Oh, let's see, I don't know how this is going to go. All right, then I'm going to use some of these. I want it to be kind of a lavender. Ultramarine blue is always good to use with purple. So this is ultramarine blue of the Golden High Flow acrylics. So let's see, I'm just gonna drop this in. And I honestly do not know how this is gonna come out. We'll just see. Make sure I close it so I don't spill it everywhere. Then I have a oxazine purple in here that's transparent, so use that. It just really wants to stay there. Kind of do this in the middle of the 2 lines. So this is actually bringing the 2 lines together, mixing the 2 horizontal lines. I guess I'm gonna use the white. So I need some more light color of this. Yeah, I can't talk while I'm doing this. And then I'm gonna stop getting more colors, which is a learning curve for me because I just want to keep going and keep going. Then I get clean water on my brush and I wet the top and the bottom. Don't touch the pigments yet, just clean water right now. And this paper even though it's kind of plastic and it feels really thin and it doesn't really soak in the pigments, it does take a lot of layers. It'll allow color upon color upon color. It just doesn't soak in. It just takes a little bit longer for it to dry. But the layers are fascinating to watch because you can keep going with this process and it'll just keep going and going. And I've taken a lot of pictures of detail, close-ups of my paintings because it's fascinating to really zoom in. Even the pieces that I don't like at all, I can zoom in and find something that I like about each one. So this is the magical part that we all like. I get my clean water and I just make sure my paintbrush is tilted the right way, and I just basically barely touch the line and watch it flow. As it gets kind of mucky, clean water. Make sure my paintbrush is tilted the right way, and I just basically barely touch the line. Barely touch the line and watch it flow. And get some more water once it gets kind of mucky. Clean water. And this will just pull the water or pull the other pigments up. Then I kind of look for little holes and then pull the other pigments up. Then I kind of look for little holes in the water and fill them up. And I do the same with the bottom. Touch these pigments together. I don't know where this green, I guess the ultramarine is separating with the green in there and the blue. It's so cool the way the pigments do this. I could do this and I do this literally all day long. I can just sit here and what colors do I want to use next? Order more paper. I just ordered some more pigments from a Birmingham ink company that I saw that Kendra had these inks, and I went to the website and I was like, oh my gosh, must have. So a lot of the inks that they have granulate and just are so yummy. Okay, and then once I have pretty much everything wet, you know, there are places like down here where I have too much water and I'll get that taken care of. But then I get these pipettes and I try to make sure that every pigment that I want to be activated has some water with it, because the water is the key. The pigment's gonna go where the water is. Ooh, see that? Yummy. So good. Ultramarine I like because it granulates. And then I have to force myself to stop. Even as I say that, I continue. So it's so cool because every drop that's added or removed changes the painting. So what I'm gonna do now is take an empty pipette, you squeeze it, and then you remove some of this extra water because it's a little too much and it might run off the edge, and I don't want that to happen. But you can see even as I do this, it's pulling the painting where I might want to prop this up. So it stops doing that. So I will take something and make it stop doing that. I wouldn't know how to act if I had a even surface. It's like you just hold your breath and watch. Leave that alone, it might do it on its own. Look at all this granulation over here. So cool. And I'm gonna stop here in a minute, bubble up, and then I will let it set and dry, and I will take a picture of the finished product. Since this is my first video of this process and I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm not gonna post my materials on my YouTube channel because I've shown them and talked about them, I guess, during the video. Where did this green come from? It's so cool. Maybe the titanium buff that I use? I don't know. Anyway, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will do my best to answer questions if I know the answers to them. And I appreciate so much the artists that are out there that are willing to show their process and their materials to other people and are really kind of transparent in that way, because a lot of artists don't do that. I've gotten in trouble, so to speak, for taking a screenshot of somebody's photograph and then making a painting, and not knowing that not everybody's cool with that. A lot of people are, but you have to ask. And I didn't do artwork until about 5 years ago. So it's not like I've gone to some art college or taken classes. I have not. I've taken classes online through YouTube videos and through Patreon and all these artists that show their process online. That's how I've learned. That's what I've done. It's out there for anyone, to learn. So I'm ambidextrous in a lot of the stuff that I do, and I didn't really notice that until I watched it back on camera. Like, this is my left hand, which is not my dominant hand. So I'll put the pigments down with my right hand, but then a lot of stuff afterwards I find I do with my left hand, which is kind of cool, I guess. See, every drop that you take away changes the painting. Even if you've let it sit for a couple hours and dry, there might be 1 or 2 places that has excess fluid that you need to pull it off. I say I'm gonna stop, yet I keep going. I am gonna try to get as much as I can from these places that it looks like there's too much liquid. But I've done this enough to know that in my head, I want to keep taking the fluid off because I think that's going to help the painting. But what it does actually is it doesn't allow the painting to develop on its own. So I know enough to know that I just need to, I've done it enough to know that I just need to set this aside, find a place that's level, set it aside, and let it do its thing. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I'll take a picture of, the finished product. So stay tuned. Alexa, bar lights on.